Okay, today we're going to be doing geometric sequences. Once you finish the notes, you're going to be doing an assignment in Schoology. Pay attention. Most of geometric sequences is just multiplying. Multiplying to get to the next number. A sequence of numbers in which the ratio, write this down, which is, we're going to be using our R, remains constant. And it is found by dividing each term by its previous term. So we're going to see, I'm going to give you two examples, one that is a geometric sequence and one that is not a geometric sequence. Okay? Right here it says determine whether the sequences are geometric. If yes, identify the R, which is a common ratio. So what we're going to do is we're going to be dividing each number by the previous number and see if it's the same. Or multiplying. What do you multiply to get to 10 from 2? 5. 2 times 5 is 10. What do you multiply from 10 to get to 50? 5. 10 times 5 is 50. What do you multiply from 50 to get to 250? And if you don't know it, you divide. So you would go backwards and you would say, okay, 250 divided by 50. You would check it in decimals. Like this. 250 divided by 50, and it gives you 5. So you can work backwards if you don't know what the multiplication ratio is. So this one is also 5. So because they're all the same number, this is, yes, a geometric sequence. Yes. Okay, so this is a geometric sequence. This is an example of a geometric sequence. That's what we're going to be doing today. So let's look at the other one and see if this is a geometric sequence or not. Some of you know that 6 times 3 gives you 18. If you didn't know that, you just divide 18 by 6. So put it in decimals. 18 divided by 6, it gives you 3. That means 3 times 6 is 18. Now, let's divide 24 by 18 and see if it gives me 3. So 24 divided by 18 does not give me 3. Okay, and if I press the little fraction right here, it's actually 4 over 3. So right here from 18 to 24, they multiplied by 4 over 3. That is not a geometric sequence because the number did not stay the same. So I'm going to say no. And you can also divide 30 by 24 to figure that number out. So 30 divided by 24 is 5 over 4. So again, it's not the same. Tiene que ser igual. Okay, so that's how you're able to tell what the geometric sequence is. Now, once you find it, if I say, yes, this is a geometric sequence, my R is 5. So R for this one is 5. Okay, that's what we were looking for. That means what do you multiply every one of those by to give you the next one? Okay, so all of these on the next down here are geometric sequences. And we're going to find out the next terms, the next 3 terms. So let's start by dividing these two. Negative 14 divided by 7. Negative 2, let me see. Negative 14 divided by 7 is a negative 2. So right here, I'm going to put negative 2. That means every time I multiply by negative 2, it should give me the next number, right? So 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. Negative 14 times negative 2 should give me 28. Check it in the calculator. 28 times negative 2 gives me negative 56. So what's negative 56 times 2? Negative 2. That's going to give you the next one. So let's put it in the calculator. Negative 56. Oops. Negative 56 times negative 2 That's my next number, which is positive 112. And then multiply again times negative 2. That will give you the next one. And then multiply again times negative 2, and that will give you the last one. So go ahead and pause the video and do those next two problems. Okay, so you guys should have paused the video. Let's see what you should have gotten. 112 times negative 2. You should have wrote down negative 224. And then you multiply negative 224 times negative 2, and that gives you the next one. So you can write those down on your paper. That was negative 224 and positive 4 what? 48. Okay, on the next one, you're going to divide 6 divided by 2. What does that give you? 3. So my R for this one is going to be 3 because 6 times 3 is 18. 18 times 3 is 54. So do 54 times 3 and see what it gives you here, here, and here. Do the same thing for problem 5. Divide 320 by 640. Divide those two and see what they're multiplying by. Pause the video and do those two problems. Okay, so when you multiply, you should have paused the video. I paused the video and I walked around, so some of you were working, some of you were not working. 54 times 3 is what? 162. 162. Times 3? 486. Times 3? How much? 1458. Okay, now this one. Divide 320 by 640. Divide 320 by 640. 320 divided by 640. It says 0.5. Does that sound right? Okay, because 0.5 is a half. That means you are halving it every time. That means you're dividing by 2 every time. The numbers are getting smaller, so yes, it makes sense that you would be taking the half of it. Okay, because 640, half of 640 is 320. Half of 320 is 160. Half of 160 is 80. So they're multiplying by 0.5 every time, which is a half. Okay, they are halving it every time. So if I take 80 times 0.5, what would it give me? If I'm telling you that it's a half, la mitad, of 80, what would it be? 40. Okay, and if you don't believe me, multiply it. 80 times 0.5 is 40. 80 times 0.5 is 40 because it's a half. It's la mitad. Okay, so what's half of 40? 20. If I multiply it by 0.5, it will give me 20. And if I multiply 20 times 0.5, it will give me 10. Okay, perfect. Let's go to the formula. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. The formula to find the next sequence, which is what we were doing, except there is a formula for it. So a to the n equals a to the 1, which is what you start with, the starting number. So a to the 1 is the starting number. The first number. So right here, my first number was 640. So that was my A1. A1 was 640 for this one. For this one, my A1 was 2. And for this one, my A1 was 7. So it's the number that you start with. Okay? And the reason we use this formula is because let's say they ask you for the 200th number. Right? You don't want to keep multiplying by a half, 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 200 times. You can just use the formula and put it to the 200th, and it will give you the number of what happened. Okay, so R, what did we say R is? R is the ratio. That means what we're multiplying by every time. Okay? And then N is going to be your nth term. this is going to be n minus 1 to the power of n minus 1. So this should be little at the top of your r, up at the top. Okay? And n is going to be whatever term you want it to be. So if I say, go look for the 200th term, then you would put 200 right there. If I say, go look for the 20th term, then you would put 20 right there. So let's practice some with that formula. Okay, let's practice some. Right here it says, write the rule for the nth term to find the 7th term. So they're telling me, go find the number in the 7th place. So the 7th term. So my formula says, okay, start with your A1, right? So AN equals A1 R to the n minus 1. That's the formula. Where did I get the formula from? Right here. Okay, so we're going to use the formula. They're looking for the 7th term. So the 7th term, A7, can be found by taking the A1, which is the starting number. What's my starting number here? ¿Con qué número comenzó? 3. Not 6. This is problem 6, problem 7, problem 8. Don't worry about that number. So I started with problem 3, with the number 3. So right here, I start with the number 3. Okay? Then my R. Well, how do I find my R? You divide. Se dividen estos dos. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So my R is 3 because 3 times 3 is 9. And then 9 times 3 is 27. So my R is 3. You find R by dividing. Okay? And then this little n is what I want. I want the 7th term. So 7 minus 1. Okay? If you have any questions right now, you need to pause the video and ask me where I got these numbers from. Okay? So then, well, what's 7 minus 1? 6. So I can reduce it. A to the 7th equals 3 times 3 to the power of 6. Okay, because 7 minus 1 is 6. Then I can put this in the calculator and it will give me my number. So let's put that in the calculator. 3 parentheses 3 close parentheses to the power of 6. 3 parentheses 3 close parentheses. I'm going to use this button. Does everybody see this button on your calculator? Because I can put whatever power I want to the power of, and then that's where you type 6. So this is my answer. 2187. Write it down. A7 equals 21 what? What did I say? 2187. What does that mean? That means if I continue 3 times 3, 9 times 3, 27 times 3, this times 3, this times 3, the 7th spot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This spot, that number right there is this one, 2187. Okay, so let's try out number 7. Or let's try out number 8. I'm going to do number 8, and you guys are going to do number 7 in a little bit. So number 8. First of all, how do I get from here to here? Nope. It's 0.5 because it's a half, but you divide 200 divided by 400. 200 divided by 400. And that gives you 0.5. That means every time they are halving it, right? So 0.5, that's my R. This is my A1. That's what I start with. And then this is my N, right? So AN equals A1 times your R to the N minus 1. So AN is A to the 7th, right? I'm looking for the 7th term. A1, what did we say A1 is?